Well, it's time now to find out what's making waves in the French media. It's time for Media Watch France with James Creedon, who's here with us in the studio. Hi there, James.
Hi, Laura.
Good to have you with us. Now, we're talking about Dominique Strauss-Kahn again.
Yes.
Because he's got a new book out, hasn't he? And lots of... I'm sure it'll be flying off the shelves because everyone wants to know his version of events of what happened in New York this summer.
That's right. Now, this is his chance to come back and say, hold on a minute, there's been a lot of rumours about me, a lot of people have been talking about me, here's my side of the story. So his biographer, Michel Taubman, I think we have a look at the front cover of the book here, spent a lot of time talking to him. He's almost his official biographer, basically. And you've got extracts of the book already in Paris Match. They spoke to the biographer as well, and also in Le Monde. So a little advance sneak preview just before you head off to buy the book tomorrow, Laura. He says, nothing would have happened if I hadn't had those stupid but consensual relations with Nafissatou Diallo. She was the maid at the hotel in New York. So he has admitted that they were consensual. That's not... Or he has said that they were consensual. That's not new.
Does he go into detail about what actually happened in the hotel room in that, 7-8 minutes?
He doesn't go into massive amounts of specifics in terms of the extracts we have here anyway, but he does say some pretty interesting things. He says that what happened with Nafissatou Diallo, it was incredibly stupid, and it opened the door for all the other scandals. So he's sort of... That almost...
Referring to the Tristan Banon scandal.
To the Tristan Banon scandal, also perhaps to the Carlton Hotel scandal in Lille in the north of France, where there was supposedly a prostitute ring that he was connected with. So he admits having had a libertine attitude to sex as well, but adds that this is not rare in the world of business or politics, and says that it's not illegal. So he basically says, look, yes, I had a bit of a free and easy attitude when it came to the ladies, but I wasn't paying for any of it, and it wasn't illegal. He goes on to say as well that or at least his biographer, Taubman, when he spoke to Paris Match, says that Dominique Strauss-Kahn is horrified by the thought of prostitution and has never paid 1 cent for sex. Oh. So it's a bit of an attempt to make the guy a little bit more presentable in the eyes of the public.
He's kind of taken all of the scandals together and...
Exactly, and just say, hey, you know, this... And as for his lifestyle, he says, I've decided to break with my past. All that's finished.
Do we think he might be trying to clean things up ahead of a possible presidential bid?
I think so, because you know what? That was another line. That was another line that was quite interesting in it. He was asked, what has changed for you in the past 6 months? He said, I was in a position to become president. Now I'm not. That's all. So perhaps not clearing up his way for a presidential bid, but certainly perhaps clearing the way for a return to politics in a best case scenario, because he's saying the only thing that has changed in all this is that I'm not a candidate for the presidential election and nothing else has changed. I don't think that's true. I think other things have changed too for Dominique Strauss-Kahn.
I think quite a lot has changed. All right. Well, it's been in the news over the past week or so, hasn't it? Because of this American journalist, Edward Epstein, who came out with a host of conspiracy theories related to the case.
And indeed, that article in which he said, oh, you know, his BlackBerry mysteriously... the GPS disappeared a half an hour after he left the hotel. There were all these little threads, these little grey zones that Epstein picked up on. Now the press is jumping on this article and saying, rubbish, Epstein, you didn't do a good job, and we are going to tell you why. So, for example, the BlackBerry that went missing, that he left behind in the hotel after he went to meet his daughter, this is presuming that people actually know the facts of this case. People say, look, if a BlackBerry's battery runs out, the GPS is no longer available. It's not like there was a crew of Secret Service agents inside in the room picking his BlackBerry apart. The battery might have run out. It might have been that simple. You know, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Others are saying, for example, that the Journal du Dimanche, a big prestigious newspaper here in France, as well as the Daily Beast website in the US, decided not to publish Epstein's article or extracts of it because they didn't think he was doing a good enough job. It wasn't up to scratch. And elsewhere, you've got the journalist, L'Express's journalist in the US, or their correspondent in the US, says that Epstein admits he doesn't have the famous video of 2 security guards dancing for 3 minutes. This was another one of the key elements in that article where he said security guards seemed to possibly be celebrating Dominique Strauss-Kahn's, I suppose, being the police being called, etc.
Alleged entrapment.
That's it. That's the word I was looking for.
All right, this is a story that's going to go on and on, isn't
it?
It is. I'm sure we'll be talking about it for weeks. Now, let's move on, because the French police have got themselves on the wrong side of the human rights organisation Amnesty International.
That's right, on the wrong side of the law, you could say, but I suppose Amnesty International being more accurate. Anyway, the Le Point here is talking about the fact that 5 different deaths have been put under the microscope, basically, because what's happened is they've charted 5 different cases where people died in custody, in police custody. There was one particular case in November 2009, Mohamed Boukrourou. He was allegedly beaten and kicked on board of a police van, died soon afterwards. There are several other cases like that where the policemen are either still active, still serving, or have been allowed to sort of kind of perhaps get their story together amongst each other. In any case, they're saying that there need to be independent inquiries conducted in France, that there are a number of very suspicious cases where perhaps the police used brutality and the authorities didn't do enough to either take them off duty or to punish them in some way, shape or form. So bad news for the French police in that Amnesty report.
Okay, now men with headaches, be warned, because one husband here in France has been fined for not fulfilling, how should we put this, his husbandly duties.
His husbandly duties. I think it's about the politest way we can put it, really. Extraordinary story. This came out of the Aix-en-Provence Appeals Court. A husband, well, an ex-husband, they were divorced, not surprisingly, was ordered to pay 10,000 euros in damages because over the course of some years, he failed to
fulfill his husbandly
duties.
Oh, we're not talking about not picking his
we'll just stick with that expression, that nice,
yes,
safe expression. Article 1382 of the Napoleon Civil Code in France says any person who causes damages to another must repair this prejudice. So that's the letter of the law is thus, and they interpreted it as, even in a husband's case, the judge basically said the wife's expectations in marriage were legitimate, and these expectations are a part of the duties of marriage, and therefore, the rest is history, essentially. So it's an interesting precedent, and I suppose it's a warning to lazy husbands and wives everywhere to, perform your marital duties.
Put people off marriage, isn't it? If they're going to get fined for things like that.
Living in sin.
God, what a world.
That's very old-fashioned talk.
Yes, indeed. All right, James Creedon with Media Watch. Many thanks indeed. Well, it's time now to find out what's making waves on the internet, and Bangkok's population has come up with new ways to deal with floodwaters, while activists in the Gulf are calling for political reform. Have a look. Here's today's web news.